Sahana vavatu, Sahanau bhunaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. What scares you? Our judgment. We're scared of judgment? Yeah, I think we can all say honestly, yes. If we're afraid of judgment, then how can we still then participate objectively with them? How can we participate objectively with someone if we are afraid of their judgment? Yeah, you can't. But we have to. We can't, but we have to. And when I began teaching, and that was the hardest thing ever. When you have older generation walking into your class and you have this young person, I felt insecure and I felt judged. This went on for like 2 years. It was so hard to overcome that because it triggers everything inside, all the childhood issues. I'm not good enough, I'll never make it. They're putting me in a box. I don't know if they were putting me in boxes, I was putting myself in a box, but this was going on. And I kept talking about it on and on. I said, hey, I'm feeling this, and it was bothering me. And they offered me so much advice. And I just stuck with it anyway. I stuck with it. I just said, I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to do what I have to do. Do my best. Slowly, it just started to evaporate. I pulled through 2 years of feeling judged. You could tell me anything. Don't feel judged. It's okay. People don't really mean it. I felt it. You see? So it's not really this thing of let's do something. Just notice it. Notice it, it's there. Lord, help me to remove this. I've tried so many things. And just do your best. So what are you fearful of? Notice and pray and do what you have to do. So it's not always about fixing things, techniques. Just trusting, I notice it. I have a desire for it to go away, but I'm going to not resist it. Be with it. And through time, it just evaporates. Or judging others. Same thing. Feeling judged, judging others. Now, let's go straight on to the next one, which is after Swadhyaya. Tapas means discipline. We often interpret tapas sometimes as, you see in these Mahabharatas and Ramayana, a man standing on one leg for 5,000 years. And he's doing his tapas. Well, it's a symbol. He's very focused and he's got discipline. And so what is discipline? It is the ability to consciously return your choices to what you value. Consciously return to what you find precious, what is precious in your life. It is a conscious redirection of focus onto that which matters to me. The world again speaks. Conscious refocusing onto that which is required at this stage of my life. If it's finances, that's where tapas goes. If it's being more connected with yourself, that is where tapas goes. It's discipline, on and on and on and on. Before sleep, hey, why am I scrolling social media right now? Is this the best use of my time right now? Most likely not. So, discipline. What really matters? A good night's sleep to wake up. Is this the kind of person that I want to be? The person who just scrolls randomly, I'm not saying stop scrolling. Just ask, what kind of a person do I want to be? I am the kind of person who I am the type of person I'm the type of person who deliberately chooses how long will I expose my ears and eyes to something. If you're in a gossip, suppose you're in a party situation, right? And you're just with friends and there's a gossip. You don't have to leave immediately. Just ask, how long do I want to stay here? Because people tend to sometimes, throw words around, politics. If you don't like it, okay, I'll be here, but how long do I want to stay here? Did you ever always stay at your friend's house only after 5 or 6 hours and you were driving back to your house, you regretted staying for so long? Oh yeah. But yeah, it's so much fun at their place, right? So there was some inner voice, okay, you gotta go, but some other voice, no, stay. And then you found out, I feel bad. I didn't listen to my voice I didn't listen to my discipline. Yeah. I want to be a worthy disciple. I want to use my speech intelligently. That means each word that comes from my mouth is to carry weight. That's the difference between two people. They say the same thing. One of them you listen to, the other person says the same thing, and you don't listen to them. Why? Because the person's words carry weight. Every word has a certain meaning attached onto it. So let me be the person who speaks consciously and deliberately so that every word has weight coming out. That's discipline. We say in Sanskrit, let my speech have satya, truth. Let it be truthful. Let what I know inside and what I say, let it be equal. Satyam. This is not satyam as in Mundaka Upanishad. This is just truthful speak. Let it be priyam. This is considerate. See, sometimes we can say the truth, but we hurt others saying the truth. Notice that? So even though you did what you have to do, you still you were not sensitive enough that there are people nearby who most likely would interpret it in a different manner. So this means there's a certain consideration how one delivers the words. Hitam is let it be beneficial. Let not my words just be wasteful. Let them benefit, let them add value to the environment. Let them contribute some light to the place. Satyam priyam hitam padam. And let me consciously bring my mind back using two powerful questions. The first is, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? What needs my attention right now? This is going around. Stop. What needs my attention right now? That's discipline. Is this necessary? Does this align with my highest goal? Will this leave me free or bound? Arjavam, this is alignment to what you intend and what you say and what you do. You can call it authenticity. He or she is authentic. That means what they say and what they do, they are authentic in their intentions. In the Mahabharata, there was a story of when they were fighting the war, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. The Dronacharya, who was extremely competent in his archery skills, he was a big problem. He was a big problem for the Pandavas because he was killing so many and he couldn't be killed. Dronacharya was the teacher of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So he was brilliant and nobody could get this guy, right? He was just dodging all the arrows and he was just shooting so many Pandavas. So it was a big, situation. And Lord Krishna suggested, well, his name, the son of Dronacharya, is Ashwatthama. So, and there's also an elephant called Ashwatthama here. So I'm going to get Bhima, the big, Pandava guy, to kill the elephant. I think he was on the Kaurava side. And then when he kills the elephant, he will shout, Ashwatthama is dead. And that's exactly what he did. And the moment Drona heard Ashwatthama is dead, that's the name of his son. He thought his son, and he loved his son so much, he thought his son was dead. And he called over Yudhishthir, because Yudhishthir from the Pandavas was the guy who always speaks the truth. And he says, tell me now, I heard that Ashwatthama, my son, is dead. You always speak the truth. Tell me, is that true? And Yudhishthir said, yes, Ashwatthama is dead. And then underneath his, he whispered, the elephant, not your son. So Drona didn't hear that second part. He just said, yes, he's dead. When Drona heard this, he was distraught, and he immediately put his arms down and he sat in meditation, and he was beheaded. And that was the end of Dronacharya. But the moment that happened, the moment Yudhishthira said that, he had a golden chariot, and this golden chariot dropped. It was always floating, and it dropped to the ground. And you say, why did it drop? What's the symbol of this? Well, the golden chariot represents your authenticity, how congruent you are in life. And it shows you that even if you use clever wordplay, you're not outside Ishvara's order. It still catches you and it drops you to the ground. It kind of lowers your energy. So Arjavam is having congruence between what you know, what you say, and what you do. So having this kind of congruency exudes trust. And people say, I trust this person. I can sort of, relate to them. You know one thing, like this is not working out, but we don't verbalize it. Why do we know something, but we don't express it? Fear of conflict. Good. And it's true, it's fear of conflict. You have a genuine investment in the relationship, and you fear that if I say the truth out loud, I'm going to lose something that I'm depending upon. I'm going to lose something that I have an investment in. So on one hand, I know that this is not going to work out between us, or I should say something, but I don't want to say something because I'm fearful that if I do, I'm going to lose you or it.
And also, you're going to hurt someone. Someone else is going to feel hurt.
Yeah. And you're going to potentially hurt them. Now, you may not want to hurt them because, you fear that it may scar the relationship. Another reason is because sometimes we have conflict of interest, which is really the same idea. On one hand, I have a conflict to be to say what I need to say, to be an honest person. On the other hand, I have very much invested myself in this person or relationship. So I fear losing out on them, and for that reason, I don't say what needs to be said. This is a huge thing in relationships. So some things that we say, things like, hey, let's get together soon. But you never get together. You have no intention of getting together. Something so innocent like, hey, I'll see you later. I'm not going to see you later. And this is in Australia, this is culture. Hey, see you later.
What about telling something like white lies to stop someone getting agitated?
It's a very complex dynamic. There's no real true answer here. You just have to figure out what is it that you want, right? If you want to preserve the harmony of the relationship, then whatever the dynamic is, you do what has to be done. Otherwise, I can't give these one-type answers. Yeah. There was one example in the Mahabharata, extreme version of authenticity. Who was extreme version of really keeping to your word no matter what? Bhishma. Remember what he said? He said, I will protect Hastinapur at all costs, no matter what. And even when the king was unrighteous, I will protect Hastinapur at all costs. So even when we overcommit to our word, now say, I am a man, a woman of my word. But the thing is, the situation has changed. So what I said before may not apply now. So the person has to reassess, is what I said before, is that commitment still an intelligent commitment now? If it's no, then I have to ask again, to what am I committing to now, based on what I have to do? So even commitment, see, we learn these things, you commit and you don't break that. But is it really like that? I'm not saying yes or no. You just have to assess what slight things have changed and what needs slight modification. That is arjavam. Can you move the goalpost to your convenience? Again, it depends, what is the purpose behind it? What is the purpose behind it? Is it for the good of the intentions of the relationship?
So is it for the greater good you would move it otherwise?
Well, you see, a promise is a promise, but so what if you're promised to stay together to someone that you've committed to, and they turn into a person that you totally doesn't match your values? It's your job to reassess the situation, because I promised to that man who you're no longer. I made a promise to that woman who you are no longer. To that one I made a promise. I didn't make a promise to this new person who is such a wide gap. So the promises also can be reassessed. Flexibility. Ahimsa, next one. This is minimize hurt whenever possible. Whenever possible. We're not saying now be this complete saint, because just to walk from here to there, how many insects did you step on? Right? And germs. So complete ahimsa, non-injury, is impossible, but minimizing the hurt that is possible through our words, actions, that is possibly minimized to the best of your ability. There's a story of a pirate who had a spear. He landed onto a ship, like a transport ship, and they didn't have any weapons because they were not expecting pirates. It was just one pirate, but a very dangerous pirate. And the captain saw this happening in the distance. The pirate had held hostage about 500 people on the ship. And the captain had to decide, either I engage in himsa, I kill the pirate, because killing is a himsa, but I save my crew. Or I engage in ahimsa, non-injury, I don't kill the pirate, but I risk him killing 500 of my crew. So what did he do? What did the pirate do? He chose to kill the pirate. Why? Very intelligent. Because he knew that if the pirate kills the crew, that's going to incur papam onto the pirate. In other words, he was acting on the behalf of the pirate, because the pirate couldn't think for himself. If I don't do anything, he incurs not only extreme papam onto oneself of the 500 killings. If I do something, I will save him the trouble of going through lifetimes of repentance, but also my crew. So he chose to convert something so simple into a divine duty. You see, so it's not less black or white. Don't do this, do this. It's highly dynamic. You have to use your discretion to discern what is the longer term benefit. It may seem like this now, but what's the greater benefit here? So this is ahimsa. And ahimsa, again, we have 3 positions in thoughts. So this means even if you judge yourself, or you're harsh onto yourself or harsh onto another, that becomes himsa onto you, because there's still some form of imprint that the person has created onto themselves. There is also speech. So when we speak, there is a certain pleasantness in how we deliver our words. As we said, priyamvadam, a certain pleasantness. Is what I'm saying pleasant? Is it considerate? Am I accounting who you are? Am I accounting the environment? Am I counting your life? Now, sometimes you don't know the other person's life, and you can potentially offend them. So it's very hard to, kind of be, even if you're considerate, you will still make mistakes.
Coming back to that pirate example, how is it like when there is Israeli army is killing the Hamas terrorists would be the same. But like risking to kill the civilians, which they take as protection, it's very complex. But it's
Suppose you're in a long-term relationship and you know, one side knows that it's not healthy and you choose not to leave. What is that? Himsa or ahimsa? It's himsa. Because you feel it, the other person most likely feels it. I don't have the courage to say this needs to move on. I don't have the courage to come out of this relationship. This only adds more himsa onto oneself. And so this means there's a certain assertiveness. This is not working. We need to move on. So this is taking ahimsa in a relationship. What do you mean move on? Wishing well for both. I move on, I wish well for both, but this is not working right now. So we need to part our ways. So if you tell a child, don't be a bully, why? Don't hurt, why? Until you make the person understand there is a price that you pay, it hurts you. The person won't follow any of these ethics, any of these values. Until we internalize it and see how it is in my interest to remain a relatively composed, non-injurious person, the person will find ways to injure anyway. So it stands to reason to think once in a while, what is the benefit of me being considerate in my words? What's the benefit of that? Just one small conversation. What's the benefit of me being considerate with others in heated moments? The benefit is that I get more information. The benefit is that, we walk away with, relatively composed, intact minds. The benefit is that I preserve the good image of myself, someone that's equanimous, patient, considerate. There's so many benefits that you come up with. When you come up with the benefits, you follow them. When they are really your benefits and you see how beneficial it is to be considerate, you don't have to go, let me not injure you. Okay, now let's go. Let me not injure the world. You just get very clear. It hurts me. There's a cost that I pay if I end up hurting. There's a cost that I pay if I am dishonest. So that means we make it very, very personal.
So it means also that the ahimsa in your thoughts are maybe the most important, because you can think, okay, I hate him or whatever,
yeah.
But you don't say it or you don't do it. You think, you think it. You're hurting yourself.
You're hurting yourself. You're not having a good time creating these thoughts about the other person. So that's a good point. I'm not having a good time. And what do I want? I want a good time. Everyone wants a good time on earth. But then you look at your mind, well, what kind of thoughts am I creating about the world and politicians and people close to me? Well, they're not healthy thoughts. And then I say, well, I want peace. I don't have peace. My mind's always restless. Why? Because I haven't learned to see that there is a major benefit in having a certain kind of thought. Right? That unhealthy thoughts are hurting you. When you see that, what happens to unhealthy thoughts? They automatically start to reduce. It was never about don't have unhealthy thoughts, they're bad. Just putting things in place. This is unhealthy thought. When it's produced, when it's sustained, when it's entertained, it produces pain. And I get hurt. And I just want to be happy. And this creates number 11, satyam, a truthful person. One who is following truthfulness in their speech, thinking. When you speak, we tend to embellish things or sometimes add things. Like, how was your journey in Hawaii? Oh, I had the best time ever. It was so amazing. Look at all these adjectives that are being thrown in. There was nothing better than that. It was the greatest thing ever. So we tend to embellish things. How was yesterday? Oh, it was awesome. So, just pause. Because it's very easy to attach adjectives onto things, but are they really keeping with the reality? Sometimes we just have to reduce the amount of adjectives. How are you? Normal. What do you mean normal? How are you? Hold on, let me check. Thank you for asking. Ritam, right thinking. When I often hear about breakups, and I ask them what happened, and what I often hear is it was his fault, or it was her fault, him, her. I don't hear anything about it was also me, by the way. So this is called non-right thinking. So right thinking is when we speak about situations, we think right, like what actually happened. I was involved, the other person was involved, that's a fact. That's ritam badam. You're speaking simple facts because that's the truth. It's always both. Kitam is something that is beneficial or adding value to the conversation. What value can I add right now? You can add value with a simple question. It doesn't even have to be a statement. What do you mean by that? The other end of the scale is akrodha, resolving anger and resentment. It's latent in everyone. Everyone has anger in them. It's just relaxing, it's chilling out. Until some situation comes or something gets said, it gets triggered. So don't think I am not an anger. Everyone's got potential anger. The good news is that the mind is also like a TV channel. You can change channels, okay? But it's not as easy as just changing channels when there's anger, because anger is actually an indicator that there are two causes. Number one, there are some unresolved emotions going on. That's most of the time, probably 99% of the time why anger comes. Unresolved emotions regarding something in me. The second is anger is connected to your sense of justice. So if I see someone bullying a child, will you get angry? Yes. Definitely. That is normal anger. So, but anger, which is more based on a personal issue, that anger we can look at. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita talks about a chain of what leads to what, how one thing leads to another, ultimately to anger. So he says first there is attachment. This is from chapter 2, verse 62 and 63 of the Gita. So attachment is when you overexpose yourself to something for the first time, right? You too much expose yourself. Like a man sees a woman, that's first moment. The moment he starts to look again and again and again, he now becomes very quickly attached. So now he goes home and the thought is in his head. So overexposure to a thing. What happens eventually? When the mind keeps on now ruminating over and over and over, desire gets born. And what is desire? In one short sentence, I want it to be mine. You want it to be, as you said, close to it. Now, most of the time, that object, that thing, doesn't comply to your standards. It doesn't exactly do what you want. It doesn't look at you in the way that you want. It doesn't, and even if you get it, you find out it's not a big deal. It's not as I thought it was. So desire, most of the time, not meeting my expectations. What happens? Anger. Now, anger is another word for any kind of emotion that throws you off balance. Now, when you have anger, that means anger or disappointment. What happens next? You start to have, call it loss, distorted thinking. That means, they were not good in the first place. I don't want it, they're not good enough for me, I've got something better. It was meant to be. This is not what Ishwara intended for me. Ishwara has even better plans for me. So you start to have a whole distorted narrative that has nothing to do with reality anymore. And this distorted narrative ends up creating a situation where you have memory loss. Now, all those things that I've learned in the Gita, all those values that I've learned, they're nowhere to be found. memory loss. 5, 10 years of experience gone. Like that. And memory loss causes you to make unwise decisions which can lead to a ruined life. Starting out, how? Attachment, overexposure, overinvestment, overdependence on a thing. Well, all this time, you were much bigger than this thing. You were never bound to this thing. You were always fine without this thing. It's almost like when this thing comes, oh, now I need it. I can't be without it. You were fine without it for most of the years. Now it's shown up for like 3 months, and suddenly those 3 months, I need it to survive. That's the moment you say that, you, the being, the one being, have made yourself as big as that thing. You've now reduced yourself to the size of that little thing. And then desire, it has to be mine, or else. But it's not going to be yours because it's not going to meet your expectations. And even if it does, what's going to happen? Your desire or idea of what you want is going to change. So even if you get it, even then, tomorrow, your desire has changed. Now I want something else. But that something else no longer matches this thing. So now this thing becomes an object from object of desire to object of repulsion. Now I don't want it anymore. Ultimately, anger. Why? Because it can never truly be yours because it was never yours to begin with, but you try to make it yours desperately. That means I want it to be mine. I want it to be mine. You have to be mine. You have to be in the way that I want you to be. That's not going to happen. Therefore, anger or things that you're thrown off your center, you're thrown off your center, you begin to have judgmental thoughts. They're not good enough. I'm going to leave them. Memory loss of kindness, of adding value, of looking at the situation deeper, that is gone, and ultimately unwise decision is made. How to deal with anger? Damaha, first one breath, and Shamaha, asking the question, what would I have to be thinking that is sustaining this anger? What am I thinking right now that is sustaining this anger? What unmet expectations have been broken? What expectations have not been met? Because often anger is a product of unmet expectations. That means you had a certain expectation how things is to be, where, in what manner, and that expectation was not met. When it's not met, anger comes. So what expectations that I have? Another way to deal with anger is very simple. See their humility. They're a vulnerable being, as much as you are. See their humility. They're just a being trying to be happy with their own needs. Next is tyaga, renunciation. Now, tyaga, we often think it's abandoning objects. It's not abandoning objects, it's just losing the objects, lose grip that they have on your mind. That's all renunciation means. It's not about abandoning, I'm renouncing the world. No, I'm in the world, but they no longer grab me. That means there's a loss of hold that an object has upon you. It just doesn't have that hold upon you anymore. Why? Because you're much bigger than the object. That's a fact, isn't it? You're much bigger than the object. The moment we forget that, a renunciation goes out the window. It was never about renouncing things physically or going away. It's just, hey, as an object, it has no, right, I'm much more than this object. I don't need this object, ultimately. I mean, it's lovely to have it, but ultimately, I don't need it. That's the truth. That's the fact. Kids, when their balloon popped, what happened? Their minds popped, right? go into a temper tantrum. But we don't do that as adults, do we? What is our balloon? What is your balloon that you haven't renounced yet? When it pops, that means it's got a hold on your mind. When you have relative control or relative management around objects, realizing they're never bigger than you, whatever it is, the object, relationship, whatever it is, it's never bigger than you. What happens? Next one is Shanti. Now I have resolution of the mind. I have acceptance of the situation. Have you ever noticed how arguing with the stoplight doesn't change it to green? So how often do we argue with reality? Reality gives you one thing, and I'm arguing with it. If I argue with reality, if I say, oh, this should have happened, why didn't this happen? I want this to happen. This shouldn't have happened to me. That's called arguing with what happened. Can you have peace like that? No way. So arguing with reality takes away your peace. So what are you commonly and frequently arguing reality about? I think we all have something. Another thing that we can do to keep our minds peaceful, Shanti peaceful, is reframe the situation. To reframe the situation means to look at it in a different angle. Because what often takes our peace away is we're very narrow-minded on one single point of view. So the moment you look at it, you turn around and see what else about this? What can I see good in this? That also helps you with peace a little bit. So changing our point of view. And sometimes we say things like, what did this teach me? Could that bring peace? That every challenge is no longer an enemy, but rather a teacher? What did this teach me? Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.